I have recently completed the first 8 Zeldas in what I'm calling the story production order. Now, this is not the first 8 Zelda games in terms of when they were chronologically made, but this is the first 8 Zelda stories. Figured I'd start with that disclaimer. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting with the namesake, The Legend of Zelda. It's the origin point, and to me, the origin point is an important playthrough as a fan of series of games. So I played through it. It was interesting. It was cool to see what it was like for the original Zelda gamers. Now, this game is deeply cryptic, and unless you are absolutely invested in experiencing it the way they experienced it in 1987, I would recommend a walkthrough because you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out where to go and what to do. But it was really cool to see the things in this game, how they informed the games later on in the series and everything like that. Like I said, it's the original. Gotta just pay some homage, put some time in. It was a good time. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Now, I've heard through the grapevine that this is not many Super Zelda fans' favorite Zelda, and I might be inclined to agree. This is the only side-scrolling Zelda, if my information is correct. I've got to say, the 2D side-scrolling element didn't really feel like it fit, especially if you're coming to this game having already played other Zelda games. It just was a little jarring. But this game was actually still a really cool experience, if not a bit of a slog, because much like the first one, it's very difficult and would recommend a walkthrough unless you're super invested in the original experience. But it was cool for me because this game was actually the source material for a lot of how Link showed up in the Super Smash Bros. Series, which is probably my favorite game series of all time. Link's up and down aerials first appeared in this game, and a lot of the music that's in Melee and some of the other titles came from Zelda 2, which was really cool to experience in its origin game. It was a blast for me. Maybe not my favorite, but definitely got some enjoyment out of it just for seeing some of that content and where it came from. Up next, we have The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Now, this is the first game on the list where this is not the original Link to the Past. This was actually the Game Boy Advance remake, which came with the Four Swords Adventure. I'm going to say this first. This game gave me a real appreciation for 2D Zelda games. Game Boy Advance games have this like really classic retro pixel art style, and just it's deep and vibrant and colorful, and seeing Zelda that way in a 2D element really, I don't know, it was heartwarming. Let's say it like that. Also interesting, Capcom was part of the development team on this game, and I didn't know they were involved in so many of the early Zelda games. Another thing that's really cool is that this game obviously very much influenced Ocarina of Time, which is widely heralded as maybe the best Zelda game of all time. And if you've never played A Link to the Past, you would just never know how much this game informs Ocarina of Time in terms of the structure, the story arc, just all these different things. It's a really important playthrough if you're an Ocarina of Time fan or a Zelda fan, in my opinion, and I would recommend this version. Four Swords is also a blast. You can play it on the Virtual Console with Nintendo Switch Online. You can play it online with your friends. It's a fun little game. Big shoutouts to Capcom and Nintendo for this one. This was a banger. Highly recommended. Another reboot or remake, however you want to call it. This was The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Now, this was actually a really interesting Zelda story because it's sort of just off the beaten path a little bit in terms of the setting, I would say. Not so much what you do. I mean, there's still temples and dungeons, and you got to collect a bunch of items to unlock the final dungeon and yada yada. I don't want to get into it too much if you've never played Zelda games before. Not that that's really a spoiler, but anyway. I gotta say, when I first saw previews of this game, I didn't really know if the chibi aesthetic was like for the Zelda series. I was like, is that really what we're supposed to be doing? But after about a half an hour playing the game, I was like, this is just like really fitting, and it's like kind of fun-loving, and it just worked more than I thought it originally would. I did play this game on the Switch 2, so the performance issues were ironed out because on the Switch 1 it has a little bit of issues with that. Definitely recommend waiting to play it if you're going to get a Switch 2 on the Switch 2. Great story. Honestly, I don't even really have like too many detailed notes on this one. It was just a solid entry in the series, and I would definitely recommend. The next story in the story production order of Zelda is going to be Ocarina of Time. Now, this one, we could spend all day talking about this, but this is an action adventure RPG classic, must play. I beat this one a long time ago, so I didn't actually play this one as of the creation of the backlog. This was not part of the new batch per se, but definitely many fond memories of this game. It's funny, when I played this game and beat it the first time, it was actually also in that same sentiment of, there's this game that I really just want to have beaten. Like, I really loved playing this game as a kid, and I never beat it, and I want to be able to say I beat it just to, I don't know, show my love for it. This is the Zelda game a lot of people think of when they think of Zelda, and it really is a great entry point. If you've never played a Zelda before, it's the first 3D Zelda, so it's got that going for it as well. Really a great game. Can't say enough about it. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This is going to be high praise, but to me, this is one of the most original games ever made. It's got very unique world building and overtones, and it builds directly on the Ocarina of Time engine without really feeling too similar, which is kind of hard to do, I feel like. Not to mention, this is one of Nintendo's like more dark games. Not that it's really like, you know, super bleak or anything, but just, you know, the whole atmosphere is very different for something that is a Nintendo release. I think this game is really cool. The whole collecting masks and going through the story and playing the Song of Healing to, you know, heal people's souls and then they turn them into a mask. It's very off the beaten path for just a game in general, or Zelda, right, for the series. I think this is one of the most important playthroughs as a Zelda fan, or if you're trying to become a Zelda fan. Highly recommended. This was a great game. And last but not least, we have the 2-for-1 Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Now, these games came out for the Game Boy Color, and it's interesting because I think the way I was going through these games sort of colored my perspective on these games. Coming straight off of the 3D Zeldas, these games can feel a little bit jarring because it's sort of a retrogression in the control scheme. For example, Game Boy Color only has A and B. So there are a lot of times in this game when you're doing dungeons or trying to solve puzzles where you literally have to unequip your sword so you can equip something else, or two things at the same time so that you can finish the puzzles. It's really not a bad thing inherently, because they were just doing the most with what they had for the console, but it definitely can feel a little odd if you just finished a 3D Zelda, for sure. And also for me, I played A Link to the Past, but that was the Game Boy Advance version. So I think in many ways, like, I saw 2D Zelda on Game Boy at its peak and then kind of went forward in time, story production wise, to these games, which maybe made them look a little less than stellar, even if that's not really the case. Great games in their own right, and I do want to actually sing a little praise for the interesting concept of the dual adventure. So if you beat one of these games, you get a code to then play a different version of the counterpart game and vice versa, which is a really interesting concept. It gives the Zelda games some replayability, which is not something that I think you see in other Zelda titles necessarily, or at least not in this manner. So that was pretty cool. I thought the art in these games were great. When you get your little pixel art cutscenes or whatever. And there's a lot of, like, you know, just interesting little things that you just wouldn't get to see if you didn't play through these. So I still think they're worth it. If you're gonna play them, maybe play these first so that you don't get that I feel like I'm retrogressing feeling. But that's it. First 8 Zeldas. I'm going to definitely dive into Wind Waker and the rest of the series as some things come out. I'm hoping that they make a Wind Waker HD as of time of this recording for Switch 2. I do have it for Wii U, but my Wii U is in the closet, and I would rather play it on Switch 2 if they're going to do that. So Nintendo, mess with your boy. That's the first 8 Zeldas. Stay tuned for more retrospectives on games as I journey through the backlog. Thanks for watching.